Cancer doesn't have to be a loved one's death sentence and your loved one's path, and it doesn't always have to be what the doctor predicts. Hi, my name is Charles Moore and I'm the co-founder of The Cancer Conversation. And over the last 27 years, I've invested over $250,000 and thousands of hours to get training and access to information to be able to see the big picture. And I've been using this knowledge to help countless people, from the sick to high performers worldwide, to regain control of their health, healing, and mindset. So in 2020, after a close friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer, I felt compelled to help in a way I knew I could. You see, Mark and I met over 20 years ago on a training course in the US, and despite being from different sides of the Atlantic, we hit it off immediately and became close friends, and we've stayed in contact ever since. In fact, he's one of a few people I'd call a close friend. So when Mark unexpectedly shared with me that he'd been diagnosed with cancer, I was like most people when they hear this type of news, completely taken aback. And I immediately assumed the worst. I didn't want to lose my friend, and I refused to just let it happen. Mark, alongside his partner Maureen, would undergo a grueling journey through multiple bouts of chemotherapy and extensive radiation treatments. But unlike most people who won't follow conventional cancer treatments, he wouldn't be beaten. He took control of his health and healing and ultimately got his life back and a whole lot more. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you how he did this and how his partner Maureen supported him through this journey. Here's Mark to tell you his story.
So around September to October 2020, I noticed blood in my urine. I was shocked, in denial, and I kind of just hoped it would go away, so foolishly, I left it. In some ways, I wasn't surprised. I knew I hadn't been taking care of myself and that I'd been exposed to environments that could leave me vulnerable to cancer later in life. But with my blood looking back at me, well, it brought me back to reality. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing. A few weeks later, my partner, Maureen, spotted splashes of my blood in the toilet, and she too was shocked, and at first didn't know where they'd come from. So she asked me if I knew, and well, I couldn't hide it, so I told her. She immediately took me to the nearest emergency department, and it didn't take long for them to confirm our fears. I had cancer, bladder cancer. And because I lived in a remote part of the US and my local hospital wasn't the best equipped, they recommended I visit another one further away for more scans and checks. So we did, but the news got worse. Ultimately, I was diagnosed with 2 types of bladder cancer. One was urothelium. The other was a small cell cancer. And realizing the small cell carcinoma was a lot more aggressive, the hospital decided to do further tests and scans, and this time they found 2 lesions on my brain. My doctor sat Maureen and me down and told us quite frankly that if I did nothing, I'd be dead in 2 years. It was the wake-up call we both knew I needed, because I hadn't been living in a way that was conducive to my health and healing, and I had to do something about it. And then we had no idea what. Long before my diagnosis, I lived in New York City, and in all honesty, it was making me feel unwell. The noise, the stimulation, the fumes. So Maureen and I decided to move to a remote part of the US, the same area we live in today. On the one hand, I think it helped my health because the environment is much cleaner. But on the other, it made trips to specialized hospitals and treatment centers a lot harder. And if it wasn't for Maureen and her tireless support, I wouldn't have been able to make those intense trips. As part of my fight against cancer, I joined many people and underwent conventional treatments. This included multiple bouts of chemotherapy and radiation on my brain. And after the second bout of radiation, I began to lose all my hair. And you realize the purpose of your eyebrows and eyelashes when you don't have them anymore. It really sucked the life out of me. And I went through some of the side effects of chemo that everyone else seems to. In fact, after about 6 months of immunotherapy, I opted for a vaccination, and within 10 days, my liver developed autoimmune hepatitis, only making my battle even harder. So like many, my battle was difficult, and I really suffered. Chemo made me weak, lightheaded, forever tired. I lost around 45 pounds in weight, and my strength and balance too. Maureen did an unbelievable amount for me in this time, and I can only imagine what she was thinking and feeling as she watched my body change to such scary lows. She would cook for me, feed me, help shower me. She fetched and chopped wood for our burner, and even lay with me if I couldn't keep myself warm. But she stuck with me, and I have no doubt without her I wouldn't have been able to follow the changes that ultimately brought me to where I am today.
And as you can see, Mark is here alive and well, and he's looking healthier than ever. So what changes did Mark make? Well, this is where I came in and used the knowledge, training and experience that I've accrued over the last 25 years. And together, once the side effects of his treatment wore off, Mark, Maureen and I put him back in control of his health and healing. And he got to reap the rewards of those changes.
Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd already spent 40 plus years training my brain in what's known as state management. You see, I've been a certified hypnotherapist since 1980, and I'm one of the select few master trainers in a very powerful method that allows people to make lasting changes in their lives easily. Alongside this, I've been an avid meditator and continue to run a successful business teaching others to become hypnotherapists like me. So whereas many people feel like they're living with a ticking time bomb, I processed my diagnosis quickly and returned to a sense of control over my mindset and headspace. However, with my diet and lifestyle, I did not have control. And like many people with cancer, I knew I wasn't taking great care of myself. This is where Charles helped.
So Mark knows the abilities and nuances of the mind inside and out, and he has a real talent to teach others the same thing. It was on this journey that our paths crossed some 20 years earlier, because I'm also a trained hypnotherapist, and I've been using these skills alongside many others to help transform people's lives. Anyway, Mark's cognitive abilities and how he taught himself to deal with stressful situations were extremely conducive to his health and healing, because he didn't want to add any more stress and pressure to an already challenging situation. But Mark won't deny that his diet and lifestyle look very different today than they did 10 years ago. And he and Maureen also won't deny that they think his diet and lifestyle changes played an important role in getting him to bounce back higher than before. Mark understood he needed to make changes, and he would eventually understand why he felt these changes actually helped him so much. Let me explain. When you hear the word metabolism, what comes to mind? Weight? A fast metabolism? A slow one? These associations are somewhat correct because your metabolism does play a role in managing your body weight. But if we look at it in more detail, your metabolism is the conversion process of turning food energy into human energy. Or in other words, it's this food energy that fuels all the chemical reactions happening in your body every second. Your thoughts, your feelings, the words you say, the movements you make, and most importantly, your health. So with that in mind, what do you think that good metabolic health means? Any ideas? Well, quite simply, good metabolic health is the ability to convert food energy to human energy more efficiently. And poor metabolic health is the opposite. In fact, poor metabolic health suggests that cells are underpowered. They can't take everything they need from the food energy that you're providing. So an underpowered cell becomes a dysfunctional cell, and a dysfunctional cell will produce symptoms. And with the trillions of cells inside your body, when they don't work like they should, you will notice, and your body will tell you. Look, our body is always talking to us. Think about this, for example. After eating a lot of sweets, chocolate or junk food, how do you feel? And then how about after exercise? Or how about after a great night's sleep? Are these the same feelings? Or is your body telling you something different. So it ultimately comes down to whether you choose to listen to your body. Because if you do, you can better understand what it needs and then provide it. But this is where it gets interesting. If we look a bit closer at these cells, we find the powerhouse of these cells is known as the mitochondria. The mitochondria, apart from being taught in school these days, produce ATP, which is the cell's main energy source. And scientists are now beginning to discover the links between the mitochondria, in particular dysfunctional mitochondria, and chronic diseases and deficiencies. You see, when a cell can't do its job, like absorbing what it needs, it initiates a process called the cell danger response. And the goal of this response is simple: to protect the cell, and thus us, from harm. So when the cell danger response is initiated, inflammation and oxidative stress present themselves. Oxidative stress then leads to more cell damage, and it's well documented in playing many roles in conditions like Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, and most importantly, cancer. Despite what people say, cancer isn't spontaneous, and it doesn't just come out of nowhere. You can't catch it like a cold either. Instead, it's something you create within your body. This alone is a positive mindset shift that helps you create a healthier way of thinking for your health and recovery. And together with Mark and Maureen, we made completely natural and safe changes to his diet and lifestyle, changes that favoured Mark's metabolic health and put him on an upward energy trajectory. So he didn't just have enough energy to get through the day, but enough energy to help him heal. And ultimately, this put him back in the driver's seat of his health and healing. Because as you saw, Mark is alive and well. He's 73 and now stronger than many of his friends, 20 years his younger. In fact, he still works and teaches others using his amazing talents. He tells me, and he'll tell you, that he's now cognitively sharper than before when his diagnosis. Mark went through hell and back and came out better than before, and is now approaching his 5th year of remission. And together, alongside Mark, I want to share the information we used to transform his life. In fact, we've combined our nearly 70 years of experience in helping people from all walks of life and put it into 2 simple, easy to action 12-week plan. One plan takes you through diet and lifestyle changes, which I'm here to support you through, along with your loved ones.
And the other plan takes you through mindset changes, which I'm here to support you through.
So you can do for your loved one what Maureen did for Mark, and put the person you love and care about back in the driver's seat of their health and healing. You can learn more about Mark and Maureen's story and the changes they made and the information they used by reading the page below. Thanks for watching and listening. I look forward to speaking to you soon.